Vishakha Tilakratna. Okay, so she'll join. Can you just let Naomi know? The one sitting in the blue dress. Naomi. All the backbenchers kindly come in front. Our presenters don't like empty seats in the front. Okay, welcome back everyone. I welcome you to the first thematic session for today, which is on why we eat what we eat, drivers of food choice. The co-chairs for this session are Dr. Naomi Savelle, who is a Principal Research Associate at University College London Institute for Global Health. Naomi completed her Natural Sciences degree and Ecology PhD from Cambridge University, UK. She has 34 years research experience, mostly in low-income settings, especially Nepal and India. She's passionate about designing and testing community-based participatory interventions that enable people to improve their lives by sharing knowledge and catalyzing action. Naomi, can I have you on stage? Our second chair for this session is on his way and will join us in 5 minutes. So I will introduce her when she's here. So for now, I think I will hand it over to Naomi for taking the session forward. Just to let you know, we have 5 oral presenters in this session, and 1 oral presentation is in virtual mode. And we have 5 rapid fire presenters in this session, and 2 of the rapid fire presenters are in the virtual mode. Over to you, Naomi.
Thanks very much, Isha. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the Why We Eat What We Eat Drivers of Food Choice session. We've got an action-packed session for you this morning with different speakers from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan. So I'm sure we're all going to enjoy this session very much. I've been reflecting from the session this morning about why we eat what we eat. And I think as we're going through the presentations this morning, you know, these issues that came up in the presentation earlier about availability, affordability, access and desirability of foods are very important. And over my decades of working in Nepal in particular, looking at diets and dietary intake, I've really noticed how preferences have changed enormously. So not only has the access to unhealthy processed foods increased enormously, but I think people's preferences for soft drinks such as Coke and other sugar-sweetened beverages has really gone up. I mean, over the years, when I first lived in Nepal, everyone would offer you a cup of tea. Now you go and you get offered a glass of Coke when you go around to somebody's house on a special occasion. So that you can see that the drivers are not only to do with access, but also, I think, to do with preference. Anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time. I want to give time to our fantastic speakers. We have 8 minutes presentation, please. Rati will be doing the timekeeping and showing each of the speakers when their time is up. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Ali Ahsan from BRAC University, who's going to speak on does depression affect consumption of food from different food groups amongst 10 to 19-year-old adolescent boys and girls in Bangladesh. Welcome, Ali.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I would like to express my gratitude to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk about depression and its effect of depression on consumption of food among the adolescent girls and boys in Bangladesh. So in this topic, I'll be talking about the rationale, method, results and then implications. So background. The prevalence of depression among the adolescents in Bangladesh is very high. Like 1 out of 4 adolescents are suffering from depression. And study reports that significant association between food habit and depression. And there is very little evidence about the food choice among the depressed adolescent boys and girls in Bangladesh. So in this analysis, we aim to explore the relation between the depression and consumption of food from different food groups among the adolescents of Bangladesh. In methods, we have used the data collected during the Bangladesh National Nutritional Surveillance Study, 2018-19 round. It was cross-sectional in design, and we have collected data from 8 divisions of Bangladesh. And we have used a multi-stage cluster sampling method, and we followed separate selection methods for rural, non-slum, urban, and slum areas. And during this data collection, we have collected data from 9,772 adolescents. And during this data collection, we have conducted face-to-face interview using the structured interview. And we have used patient health questionnaire, PHQ-9, to measure the depression, and minimum dietary diversity tool to record the frequency of consumption. So here you can see the cluster selection method where rural, non-slum, urban, and slum, how we have selected the sentinel sites. And in the right-hand side, you can see the Bangladesh map where all the sentinel sites are distributed all over the countries. And in the participant selection process, we have listed 25,371 households, and from these households, we have randomly selected 6,348 adolescent boy and 6,338 adolescent girl. And from this randomized selected girls and boys, we ended up with 4,907 boys, adolescent boys, and 4,865 girls. So regarding the data analysis, we have followed the minimum dietary diversity for women guideline to categorize this food group. And my outcome variable was frequency of consumption of specific food groups. Here, more frequent means if consumption frequency is more than or equal to the median frequency of the consumption. And the less frequent means if consumed less than the median frequency of the consumption. And my explanatory variables are age, religion, marital status, maternal education, paternal education, food security, household wealth index, and any depression. So during the data analysis, we have used Stata to analyze these data, and we have conducted descriptive and inferential statistics. Here, the variables with the p-value of less than or equal to 0.2 in unadjusted model is included in the adjusted model for binomial logistic regression. In the logistic regression, if the variable is with a p-value of less than 0.05 p-value, we consider that statistically significant. So in the result, in the background characteristics, most of the participants belong to 10 to 14 years age group, rural place of residence, partially secondary education attainment, and food secure household. Here the prevalence of depression among adolescents was 24.5%, while girls have more prevalence than boys. So in the consumption of food items from the different food groups, here depressed boys and girls ate grains, nuts, vitamin A rich fruits and vegetables, other foods, and eggs more frequently. However, they consumed dark leafy vegetables, other vegetables, meat, poultry, and fish, and dairy products less frequently. And for the processed food consumption frequency, here they ate more savory and fried snacks, more sweet snacks, and less frequently ate the sugar-sweetened beverage. If we talk about the association of depression with the consumption frequency from different food groups in the boys, the in the adjusted model, there is higher odds of frequent consumption from the grains, white roots, and tubers. And there is lots of consumption from pulses, dark leafy vegetables, vitamin A-rich fruits and vegetables, other vegetables, poultry, meat, fish, dairy products, and sugar-sweetened beverage. And for the adolescent girls, there is high odds of consumption frequency, frequent consumption from the food group grains, white root, and tuber. And lots of consumption from pulse, dark leafy vegetable, vitamin A-rich fruits and vegetable, other vegetables, meat, poultry, and fish, and sugar-sweetened beverage. If we summarize this whole results, so in both boys and girls, high odds of frequent consumption from grain, white root, and tuber from for both boys and girls, and lots of frequent consumption from pulse, dark leafy vegetable, vitamin A-rich fruits and vegetable, other vegetables, dairy, and sugar-sweetened beverage. Interestingly, there is higher odds of frequent consumption from meat, poultry, and fish in the adolescent depressed girls, but there is lower odds of frequent consumption from poultry, meat, poultry, and fish in the depressed adolescent boys. And here you can see there's lots of frequent consumption from sweet snacks among the adolescent girls, but it is not present in the adolescent depressed boys. So, what is the implication? Following the recommendation can be helpful for adolescents with depression. There should be mandatory periodic mental health screening, and dietary advice services for adolescents can be integrated into the primary health system and education institutions. Targeted education program for parents of the adolescents can be done to facilitate the healthy food choice at the household level. And we need to focused interventions to increase the fruits and vegetable consumption, dairy and pulse consumptions among the adolescents with depression. And reduced frequency of processed food consumption during the depression is a good sign, here we have seen, but we need intervention to sustain this pattern. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Ali. That was really interesting. I'd next like to invite Sharvani Sarlesh Patwardan from IFPRI, and Sharvari is going to present on perceived constraints to healthy diets, evidence from agri-food system assessments in rural South Asia.
Thank you, Naomi. I am not Sharvari. I just would like to take a moment to welcome our second co-chair who joined us on the panel. We have Vishakha Tilakratna, who's the project director at Scaling Up Nutrition People's Forum, with a strong academic foundation in chemistry and food technology in developing countries. With over 30 years of experience across government, private sector, NGOs, and the UN, her expertise spans nutrition, food security, and public health. We are glad you could join us, Vishakha ji. Over to you, Naomi and Vishakha.
Should I start? Hi everyone. I'm going to present on behalf of my co-authors our analysis titled Perceived Constraints to Healthy Diets, which is a quantitative approach to analyzing the individual level drivers of diets in South Asia. Healthfulness of diets in South Asia is challenged by constraints such as poverty, availability, and access issues, among others. How we perceive food can drive food choice and ultimately our diets. For instance, affordability, availability, desirability, and convenience have been identified as key drivers of food choice. Yet, there has been limited quantitative assessment of how perceptions of food relate to diet quality. Hence, our objective was to quantify the relationship between individuals' food perceptions and their diet quality across 5 districts in rural South Asia. We use primary data collected from Rajshahi and Rangpur in Bangladesh, Nalanda in India, and Banke and Surkhet in Nepal. Our total sample size was 4,000 rural households, and respondents included adult females, adult males, and adolescents. The diet quality outcomes for our analysis were derived from the Global Diet Quality Score, or GDQS application. The GDQS collected ingredient level 24-hour dietary recall data. The metric consisted of 25 food groups, 16 healthy, 7 unhealthy, and 2 unhealthy when consumed in excess, which included red meat and high-fat dairy. The GDQS healthy score is calculated based on the consumption of healthy foods and has a possible range of 0 to 32. A higher GDQS healthy score implies higher consumption of healthy foods. The GDQS unhealthy score has a possible range of 0 to 17, and a higher GDQS unhealthy score implies lower consumption of unhealthy foods. These figures show the mean GDQS healthy and unhealthy scores. Nepal had a higher mean GDQS healthy score compared to Bangladesh and India, implying higher healthy foods consumption in Nepal. India had the highest GDQS unhealthy score, implying lower unhealthy foods consumption in India. For our predictor variables, primary data was collected on individual level food choice drivers. Respondents were requested to agree, disagree, or neither to 8 statements as shown in the table below. The statements were posed for 6 foods: dal, eggs, green leafy vegetables, banana, biscuits, and fried food. For instance, to understand the perceptions about affordability of dal, respondents were requested to agree, disagree, or neither to the statement, given my income, dal is not too expensive. Using the responses for the food perception statements about healthy and unhealthy foods, we used a principal component analysis, or a PCA. So this was done to understand which combinations of the food choice driver perceptions maximally explained the variance in our sample, and also to capture the theoretical latent domains of the food choice drivers. We ran 2 PCAs, one with responses to statements on healthy foods and the other with unhealthy foods. So let's understand how the PCA results were used to label the latent food choice drivers. The first principal component loaded on 3 food choice indicators, like the taste of, my family enjoys eating, and are nutritious. We can see from the table that these are theoretically mapped to desirability. Hence, we labeled this domain desirability. The second principal component was labeled availability and accessibility, as the components loaded on its easy to acquire and knowing at least one vendor or shop. So all domains for the healthy and unhealthy foods PCA were similarly labeled. The food choice drivers derived from the PCA were examined against the outcome variables, the GDQS healthy and unhealthy scores. The models controlled for gender, age, wealth, household size, years of education, food insecurity, and included district fixed effects. So the orange circle here represents Bangladesh, the red diamond for India, and the purple square for Nepal. This figure displays the OLS estimates of GDQS healthy score by the drivers of healthy foods. The x-axis displays the score, and the y-axis displays the latent food choice drivers that were derived from the PCA. Controlling for covariates, we observe that perceptions of greater affordability, accessibility, convenience, and desirability for healthy foods were significantly associated with higher healthy food consumption. In Bangladesh and India, multiple drivers were associated with higher diet quality. However, in Nepal, only greater perceived desirability for healthy foods was significantly associated with higher healthy foods consumption. This figure displays the OLS estimates of GDQS unhealthy score by the drivers of unhealthy foods. So perceptions of greater availability, accessibility, and desirability were significantly associated with higher unhealthy food consumption. Now, the way we interpret the GDQS unhealthy score is a little different from the healthy score. So let's look at the estimates for India and Nepal for desirability. So the red and purple estimates in the desirability line. So the estimates here are negative, which implies greater perceived desirability was associated with a lower GDQS unhealthy score. But a lower unhealthy score implies, a lower unhealthy score implies higher consumption of unhealthy foods. So this means that greater perceived desirability of unhealthy foods was associated with higher unhealthy foods consumption. So in this way, we observe that in Bangladesh, availability and accessibility for unhealthy foods was associated with higher unhealthy foods consumption. In India, all three drivers mentioned above were significant, while in Nepal, only desirability for unhealthy foods was significant. From the results, we identified two types of desirability: desirability for healthy foods and desirability for unhealthy foods. The drivers of consumption differ for healthy and unhealthy foods, and the drivers also differ by local context. Understanding the perceptions of food that drive food choice can aid interventions for improving the healthfulness of household diets. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'd now like to invite Zarmeen Naseem to come and talk about quality assessment of nutrition-related information in Pakistani print media. Welcome, Zarmeen.
Audible?
Is Zarmeen not here?
Yes. Can you please confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi, Zarmeen. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Hello. Hello, everyone, and good morning. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible. Yeah, please go ahead, Zarmeen.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank to the organizers for inviting me for this oral talk. So I am Zarmeen Naseem, working as a senior instructor in Citric Health Data Science Center at the Aga Khan University in Pakistan. And I will be talking about the quality assessment of nutrition-related information in Pakistani print media. So here's the outline of my talk. I will start with the objectives, then we'll discuss the methods, followed by results and implications, and then finally I will conclude my presentation with key takeaways. So the background of this research work is that we believe that media serves as the key source of disseminating the credible information related to health and nutrition, and it influences the public opinions and behaviors. So according to the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics, there are currently 707 newspapers as of 2019, and the numbers have been increased. And we have an extensive readership potential that actually significantly impact the public views. But there exists the research gap. We found that there is a lack of studies that evaluates the quality of the content that is published in the print media. So the objectives of this, the primary objective of this study is to basically assess the quality of nutrition-related news articles that are published in Pakistani print media. Then we also aim to determine the reliability and readability of the nutrition information published in English and Urdu newspapers. Then our next aim was to identify the frequently published topics related to nutrition in Pakistani print media. The long-term objective of this research study is to support media organizations in enhancing the quality of their content. And for this, we scheduled some short-term courses for the media organization to educate them regarding the best practices for publishing any health-related content. So the method we followed was that we collected articles from 3 prominent national newspapers that includes English and Urdu publications. So we extracted the news through RSS feeds of these media sources from 17 July till November 17, 2023. The inclusion criteria of the news articles is that the article must contain any nutrition item and the health conditions as the outcome. We also developed the inclusion and exclusion lexicons to filter the news articles. So we started off collecting first we collected the news articles through RSS feeds. The RSS feeds provided us the headline of the news. Then we extracted the full news articles using Python API. Then we filtered the news headlines and reports using our inclusion and exclusion lexicon that we developed for English and Urdu languages. So these lexicons contain the nutrition-related words and the health outcome-related terminologies to filter the news articles. We then use a HiQuil, that is quality assessment tool, to assess the quality of the news articles. Then, in order to identify the frequently published topics, we clustered the news articles based on their similarities and extracted the topics. So this is the HiQuil Health Information Quality Assessment tool that is originally developed for the Korean news article quality assessment. We adapted this tool and we evaluated the reliability, usefulness, understandability, and sufficiency of the news articles. For the reliability, we evaluated the news articles based on 4 items. For usefulness and understandability, we have 1 item to evaluate, and for sufficiency, we have 3 further items to assess the sufficiency of the news article. So here are the results. We, using the inclusion and exclusion lexicons, we were able to build the corpus of 145 news articles that contains 119 Urdu articles and 26 articles were in English. So out of the total 9 scores, English articles received the quality score of 4.93 plus minus 3.07 out of 9, while Urdu articles obtained an average score of 2. And then we further also assess the quality score in each of these 4 domains: reliability, usefulness, understandability, and sufficiency. So for the English articles, for the reliability domain, the average scores were 1.96 out of 4. For usefulness, 0.54 out of 1. For understandability, the scores were 0.85 out of 1. And for sufficiency, the scores were 0.50 out of 3. While Urdu articles in the reliability domain were managed to achieve the average score of 0.82 out of 4. For usefulness, 0.27 out of 1. For understandability, 0.39 out of 1. And for sufficiency, 0.17 out of 3. Here is the distribution of the scores that shows that the Urdu articles that were evaluated using HiQuil tool were mostly in the lower scores between 0 to 3. We further also, using the clustering analysis through K-means algorithm, identified the distribution of topics. And then we, based on the cluster characteristics, we manually labeled the clusters. So for English articles, we see that the higher number of articles were related to causes of obesity and dietary risk factors of cancer. While in Urdu news articles, we see the distribution of topics in this way, where we have around 41 articles were published related to nutritious foods and their health benefits in general, followed by 14 news articles that were related to animal sources of protein and cancer, followed by the dry fruits, followed by the articles that were related to the usage of dry fruits for the winter season. So the implications of this study is that we found that the quality assessment using the HiQual tool highlighted the notable differences in the quality between the English and Urdu news articles. We found that the quality of nutrition-related information in Urdu news articles is poor, and it significantly affect the Pakistani population's public health knowledge and outcomes. So we identified that there is the need for targeted interventions to improve the quality of nutrition-related reporting in Pakistani print media. And with this, I would like to conclude my presentation, highlighting that there is a significant quality gaps in the nutrition-related information that is published in the Pakistani
Thank you,
news.
Zamin. Your time is up now.
Yeah, so that's it from my side. Thank you, and now I am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zamin. That was really fascinating and a novel approach. I'm going to hand over to Vishaka now.
I think the long Sri Lankan names as well. Okay, so this session has shown a refreshing, twist towards adolescence. And the next speaker, Mudiyanselage Hasara Dirangi Sitisekara of the YMP University of Sri Lanka, will talk about drivers of adolescence, fruit and vegetable choice behavior in Sri Lanka. Over to you.
So very good morning all of you. So let's see what are the drivers of adolescence fruit and vegetable choice behavior in Sri Lanka. So as you all know, fruit and vegetables are vital components of a balanced diet, yet the consumption among all population groups in Sri Lanka remains markedly below the recommended levels. So considering about the adolescence represent a critical phase of physiological development and also the establishing the lifelong behaviors, including dietary patterns. So in Sri Lanka, adolescents face dual burden of malnutrition, and this marks worst by low fruit and vegetable intake. So to address this issue effectively, first, understanding the determinants of fruit and vegetable consumption behavior is crucial. So the assessment of fruit choice behavior is focusing on how and why do people eat what they do, and 3 interrelated questions. So the first 2, addressing what and how, provide descriptive information about why people eat what they do. So considering about the adolescents' food choice behavior, their food choice decisions could affect on several factors. Individually, their psychosocial, lifestyle and biological factors could affect on their decisions, and social and physical environment could also exert significant pressure and constrain their decisions, and also the broader systems such as media and socio-cultural norms could also exert significant pressure. So this framework developed by Story et al. Used to guide our study. So here we investigated how these personal, social, physical and broader environmental factors affecting in acquiring, preparing and consuming fruit and vegetables among adolescents in Sri Lanka. So we focused on adolescents aged 14 to 16 years with 18 focus group discussions conducted across urban and rural settings. We explored variations through gender and ethnicity to capture a holistic picture. Okay, so now let's see first about the fruit and vegetable acquisition. So regarding the individual factors affecting on fruit and vegetable acquisition, the taste and appearance and visual appealing was the main concern on adolescents. So you can see in the second cloud, they expect to match the color of the fruit and vegetable when they are purchasing. And also they combine these, their preferences into health benefits of this fruit and vegetable consumption. Next, considering about the social environment, family beliefs and practices was considerably affecting on their fruit and vegetable choice acquisition choices. Also, the peer influence was noticeable. They said that they tend to ask for fruit and vegetables which their friends get to the school from their parents. Apart from that, affordability was also mentioned, as they said that they do not tend to ask for the fruits from their parents because they are so expensive. Next, moving into the physical environmental factors, accessibility varied significantly. Rural adolescents normally relied on home gardens, whereas urban adolescents struggled with limited availability. Considering about the macro system, media plays an important role, providing essential information about health benefits of fruit and vegetable consumption. Next, talking about the fruit and vegetable preparation. As for the individual factors, preference and knowledge was considerable. So, adolescents said that they more like to eat vegetables which are tempered because they are flavorful and visually appealing. And considering about the social environment, family influence and peer influence was the predominant factors, because normally adolescents engage to the fruit and vegetable preparations in their homes. Next, about the physical environment, availability and opportunities was predominant. Talking about the opportunities, adolescents said that they normally feared about chemical contamination. Normally their families avoid to buy fruit and vegetables because they believe that they are chemically contaminated. Next, about the marketing and media, they said that different cooking preparation methods affect on their trying different methods to prepare fruit and vegetables. Okay, finally, about the fruit and vegetable consumption, preferences and perceived barriers were the predominant factors among adolescents regarding the individual factors. So, in the first cloud, you can see they said that eating fruit and vegetables contribute to their health. And for the social environment, family influence and peer influence was mentioned. For the physical environment, rural adolescents said that they tend to eat fruit and vegetables because they are available in their home gardens, whereas urban adolescents struggled with the limited availability. And for the macro system, media influenced on their consumption because they said that they tend to eat unhealthy foods, they tend to go for unhealthy foods because of the advertising. So finally, they suggested culinary diversity, access to fruit and vegetables, fresh fruit and vegetables through home gardening, and also cost optimization strategies as seasonal management to improve their fruit and vegetable consumption. So we can conclude that personal preferences, family influence, availability and marketing were the most influential factors for fruit and vegetable choice behavior among Sri Lankan adolescents. So understanding and by addressing these factors effectively, we can pave the way for better nutrition in the next generation. Thank you.
Thank you for that very interesting presentation. And next we have another very interesting topic, the implication of calorie values in online food menus, healthy choices and awareness, presented by Rinmoy Pratim Bharadwaj of IFPRI. Over to you.
Hello everyone, good morning. Okay, like in India, like we have numerous people, like 1.5 billion, and like that's the consumer person, right? So we have like numerous food app, and like for as per the geometry is one of the largest. So they have like 2.5 trillion of market cap, and as far as the India's GDP is concerned, like it's like more like 3.4 billion. So it's like 70% of the value we can compare in that number. So we have a very large amount of consumers in the online food menus, that how the people are consuming the food. So that's what I wanted to know, and that's my like personal thing, like if the calorie values are coming into the online food menus, how people are perceiving them. So and like in few of the studies, so similar studies was performed in Saudi Arabia among students, but as we know the money is a constraint, so people are not giving any sort of notice to the calorie values, and they're they didn't put any interest on the calorie values, so they consumed what they wanted to do. Okay, so in the what one study by Liu has suggested that if we put some color coding or some kind of an ranking in the food menus, so it might be a good approach to say the people that okay, what you should eat or what you shouldn't be eating. So some color combination or like color ordered thing can be a good way to communicate the information to the larger crowd, what it was mentioned. And yeah, so in this my study, so like I wanted to check like how these calorie values in the menus are impacting the consumer behavior and how the promotion of the healthy food are been in the Indian context. So as far as the food apps are concerned, so all apps do not provide the calorie values, but there are few of the apps in the specific restaurants they try to provide. And generally, like I'm from like being in the Mumbai for more than 10 years, so I have seen gradually the people are putting those values in the restaurant menus as well. Okay, so to see the overall effect, so it's not like unidirectional approach, so it's combination of like multiple things. So we know the online food menus are growing and growing, so then we have like varying level of accuracy and what is the amount of calorie they are mentioning. So there might not be any regulatory bodies are still available which should check about the authenticity of the information. Then the consumer awareness is a bigger part, that if they don't know about how much they should eat or not, so that is also one of the concern. Then in the like urban population mainly, so they are very much conscious about what to eat as the education, as the exposure is higher. So people are in more aware about like what to eat or what not to eat. And so there is a clear gap in the understanding about the nutritional awareness, the requirement of their body. And as we know, there is a generational gap. So the young crowd are more into this calorie and all those fancy things, but might be the younger or maybe our older people might not be that aware. So I try to capture all the information in my questionnaire, and so I try to collect the information over a period of 2 months, and I have kept the questionnaire open. So I got as low as 13 years individual who are ordering online food. So it's my the minimum age to 73 years of well, and the data were analyzed via Python. Okay, to quickly go to the result section. So we have a like very balanced gender, and we have most around 70% of the population comes from 18 to 40 years of age, and like 70% of them are from the urban population. So we know like in the rural areas there is no online app available, so my crowd was there from the online thing. And in the education also we can see like most of them are as an undergraduate, and yeah, so 50% of them are almost employed, and the income level, the household income level is like less than 600 USD per month, which was coming out to be. And if you can see, the awareness of calorie values are like people know about, like 75% of them know about the calorie level, how it works, but if you can see, but they rarely put any interest on like what to come out of it. So, and if you say only the 12% people know like whatever they are eating, so how much the calorie was there, or maybe what they are eating, about the calorie information, only 12% people know. But in case if you see like more than 56% do not know about their how much calorie they should consume. So maybe there are various regulatory bodies, or maybe the country specific, WHO specific, like for example India we have around 2400 calorie per day should be consumed, something like that, but it also varies across ages, as gender, but around 2000 what is mainly recommended over the different countries and scenarios. But yeah, but people do not know about it, like how much they should eat if the values are there, but overall. So in the like the leading the factor or the food choices, like we can see that price and taste are the foremost, but we can see only 6% people put their interest on that, and out of that, like from that 6%, only 40% people are getting influenced by the values. And so okay, so as the knowledge point of view, the people are wanted to know about the calorie information, but they need the information at the they need the right information at the right place. So that's what everybody needs, right? So and over the calorie labeling, so almost like 4 out of 5 people across all genders, all place of residence, the education, and the income level. So people need the information, the calorie level across food menus, so that they can choose between the things. So finally, we are not getting any kind of an much association across the socio-demographic variable, but education seems to be a good factor in identifying the overall approach. And in the conclusion, so we can say like calorie values represents like greater steps toward awareness and effectiveness of the overall consumer education is also needed, so that it can be implemented and people can follow the overall approach. So finally, so what from the study, like what we are expecting to have, like maybe there should be a long-term behavioral change is needed, so that these overall things can be addressed, and we can need like a broader demographic influence, so across all genders, all regions, so into the remotest part of a region, so that should go, that information should go. So and we have nutritional education campaign should be done, and on the top of that, so that additional labeling should be there across all the food menus. Yeah, thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to invite all the speakers to come and sit up for the Q&A session before we go into the 2-minute rapid fire presentation. So if all speakers could come and sit up on the stage here, please. And before we invite questions from the floor, I'd be interested to know, are there any questions online? So it would be nice to give our online participants an opportunity to ask their questions. Thanks, Isha.
Thank you. There's one question online for Hasra Sitaskera. It says that you mentioned that respondents are concerned about eating fruits and vegetables due to contamination with chemicals. Is this a widespread issue in Sri Lanka? And is it grounded by evidence? And if yes, then why such prevalent public concern?
Do you want to answer that first, and then we'll move on to the next one?
Yes, so we investigated this among adolescents. So what they mentioned was the chemical contamination. I mean, they mentioned that fears about chemical contamination was there among their families. And they also practiced that washing vegetables with salt water as an example to avoid this fear. But it is predominant among Sri Lankan population.
Thanks. Any more online questions? Were there any more, Isha? Okay. And any questions from the floor? Would anybody like to? Could you go to the microphone, please?
Is it substantiated by evidence, this widespread fear of using fruits and vegetables because they're contaminated, or is just the perception that people have? Because it would be interesting to work on that if it is true, if it's just a perception, or if it is something that the government or the policy level implications are required.
Yes. So thank you for the question. So yes, these are the perceptions. I mean, we investigated about the perceptions, but I think there are evidence, I mean, regarding the quantitative evidence, but I'm not sure because we only investigated about the perceptions only.
Thank you. Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for all the presenters, a really nice presentation. So I have to ask a question to the quality assessment related research topic. So they have mentioned about they have used specific tools to analyze the data both in Urdu and two languages. So my question, because the nutrition, the topic itself says a quality assessment. So do you get back any expertise like nutrition field, including consultants and all? Because we cannot really rely on the assessment, because it terms itself mention about quality. So my perspective and my question, do you consider about human factors that also contribute more into quality assessment? Even we can take count about the AI influence during these days as well. Could you please brief it?
Samin? I think you're on mute. Can you unmute?
Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So here I would like to mention that yes, we have a multidisciplinary team and we have nutritionists on board as well. And these nutritionists basically use the HiQual tool to score the news articles. So the scoring was manual using the expertise of nutritionists based on these 4 to 5 domains that I discussed in the two.
Yeah, one more follow-up. So is there any well-prepared manual used? Because the articles are different. You have mentioned it's based about cancer plus nutrition. So it's a diverse topics. So is there a very common manual, or it is vary to the articles and the topics?
So the HiQual tool basically is designed in such a way that it looks for the overall quality irrespective of the topic. So it looks for whether the article has the medical evidence or any citations mentioned associated with the implications that are discussed in the articles. So the quality assessment is more in general, while we did clustering to determine the topic diversity in the publications.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to ask your question?
I'm Madhusha from Wyoming University, and I have a question for the presentation that the depression and the food consumption pattern. And the depression is one of the complex issue, and also you did the research among the adolescents. So have you checked the eating disorders and the eating pattern related depression and their food consumption pattern? And my second query is, what about the causes of the depression? Because there might be the different causes. So have you checked the causes of the depression? So if so, what cause of the depression is highly influenced on the disordered food pattern, food consumption pattern? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So we have used the patient health questionnaire, PHQ-9, to measure this depression, but I'm extremely sorry that we haven't considered any eating disorder related to the depression. And for your second question, okay, so the cause. In this questionnaire or tools, it doesn't identify the specific cause of the depression. It's kind of a holistic scoring system. So no, we didn't analyze any cause that is specifically related to the food consumption pattern. Thank you.
Okay, I think we can probably take these last two questions. Thank you.
Thank you for great presentation. My name is Winston Mombek from Tanzania. You have presented about concerns and perception about chemical contaminations. Did you find out anything about microbial contamination? Thank you.
No, just the chemical contamination. They didn't mention about the microbial contamination. Thank you for the question.
Please go ahead.
So, I'm Kevin from Malnutrition University of Sri Lanka. So I have two questions actually. So my first question is to Nazim about the assessment of quality in printed media. So you have used an quality assessment tool, HiQAL. So and you have mentioned, you have concluded that the articles in Urdu is lacking the quality which should be there. And you concluded that English is better than the Urdu one. So is there any cutoff marks to connect to say that more than this mark will be better for better quality, or is there any anything to compare that this is better because this marks is higher than this?
So thank you for the question. So the total marks were like out of 9. So we when we are discussing it, like comparing the domains, we eventually see that the scores in English articles were higher in comparison to Urdu. So there were multiple reasons for that. One reason is basically that for the English articles, we have only one source available, news media source. So the reporting has a standard maintained throughout the articles. While for Urdu, we picked article from multiple sources. So due to the differences in the media sources, the quality is basically changing. And we believe we actually analyze that the scores more than 6, we believe that this is the substantial quality articles.
Last time I have another clarification to make.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah. And this is
keep it brief.
With Ali Hassan about the presentation. So you mentioned that you haven't looked into the reasons, the causes of depression among this your population. And like and you have recommended to increase fruits and vegetables for depressed population. So have you looked into a connection between fruits and vegetables affecting the depression, or can you say?
Thank you for your question. So our objective is to see whether depressed adolescent boys and girls, whether is there any increase in frequency in the consumption of foods from any specific food group. So honestly speaking, like we haven't, in this analysis, we haven't considered that what type of fruits and vegetables should they take. But as you have seen in the adjusted model, that during the depressed boys and girls, they are more likely to consume less fruits and vegetables. So in this recommendation, that's why I mentioned that as adolescents are going through the puberty age, so if they're depressed during this puberty age, it will be kind of a habit to them in the later stage of the life. So we need a specific intervention to ensure that they consume more fruits and vegetables during the depressed stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much to all our speakers. Could we give them a round of applause? Thank you. And I'm now going to hand over, please do take a seat, thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Vishaka to introduce our rapid fire presentations.
Thank you. So I think we were, looking at time limitations, and this is really, really cutting edge to be presented at 2 minutes each. So the first rapid fire presentation will be on dietary shifts and influencing factors during Ramadan fasting among university students in Bangladesh, presented by Lamisa Rahman, Research Associate, North-South University. Over to you.
Okay, good morning everyone. It's Dr. Lamisa Rahman here. I'm honored to present my research on dietary shifts and influencing factors during Ramadan fasting among university students in Bangladesh. This work is a product of my master's course inspired by the profound interplay between culture, tradition, and health. Ramadan fasting observed by millions of Muslims alters not only just daily dietary routine, but also dietary patterns. My study, conducted within 867 fasting Muslim university students in Bangladesh. Here's what we have found. Students living with family consumed more cereals and red meats, while those with a family history of diabetes reduced sugary food intake. Rural students showed a higher intake of fruits and vegetables compared to their urban counterpart, a trend worth noting for public health intervention. Interestingly, increased oil consumption among students living with family was inversely associated with obesity, prompting deeper inquiry in meal dynamics. These findings emphasize the need for Ramadan-specific dietary guidance to encourage healthier food choices. Policymakers should prioritize such recommendation in public health program, integrating cultural sensitivity into nutritional strategy. Thank you for your time and patience.
Thank you very much. You did extremely well, time-wise. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next one would be on diet quality and associations with motivation and ability to consume a healthy diet among adolescents from urban low-income households in Bangladesh by Saida Masina Akhtar. Over to you. We can't, I think you're not audible. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Mashina, connected from Wageningen. I would like to present diet quality and how motivations and ability to consume a healthy diet determine diet quality among adolescents from urban low-income households in Bangladesh. So adolescents in low and middle income countries, particularly in the food environments of urban low income settings, often consume diets that are high in unhealthy but low in healthy foods, leading to a high risk of obesity and non-communicable diseases. So exploring diet quality and key drivers like food choice motives and perceived ability to consume a healthy diet, what we call self-efficacy, is essential to promote healthier food choices and improve diet quality. From a cross-sectional study with 299 adolescent girls and boys aged between 15 and 19 years conducted during 2020, for diet quality, we found most adolescents met the minimum dietary diversity, but they consumed a few of health protective food groups. They also consumed less of food groups to avoid or limit, which is good. The most important motivation was safety, followed by healthiness, taste, price, convenience, and local or seasonal. Adolescents reported feeling somewhat confident in their ability to consume a healthy diet. We found that high motivation for local or seasonal and low motivation for food price and high self-efficacy were linked to better diets. So to improve overall diet quality, strategies should go beyond improving dietary diversity. Efforts should focus on increasing the consumption of health protective foods like whole grains and vegetables and fruits, addressing concerns about food
Your time
price
is up.
and improving. Yeah, thank you.
Right, so we will have the next presentation, level and associated factors of processed food consumption among Bangladeshi children aged 5 years, a multi-level analysis by Tariq Rahman. Over to you, Tariq.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes.
Hi everyone, greetings from Bragg James Speaker School of Public Health, Bragg University. My presentation focuses on the prevalence and associated factors of processed food consumptions among Bangladeshi children aged 5 to 9 years. We utilize data from a study titled Bangladesh National Food Security and Nutrition Surveillance 2023. We employed multi-stage cluster sampling to select 90 clusters, including 10 slum, 64 rural, and 16 non-slum urban areas. A total of 5,736 Bangladeshi children were included in the study. Multi-level logistic regression models were employed to examine the factors associated with PFC. The study found that the overall prevalence of processed food consumption was 34%. Figure 1 shows that boys living in slum areas were more prevalent to processed food consumptions compared to girls. Furthermore, in figure 2, we can see that households classified as food secure and residing in slum had a higher prevalence of 51%. That's very alarming. Now looking at the table 1, the null model shows about 21% of the variability in processed food consumptions, which was attributed due to the cluster differences. Model 4 is the best fitting model as it has the lowest archaic information criterion compared to others. Using this model, we got being overweight or obese and living in severely food insecure households are negatively associated with processed food intake. However, older children with more than 2 hours of screen time, those from wealthier families, those with adequate dietary diversity, and those residing in slum areas or the Sylhet division were more likely to consume processed foods. We all know children aged 5 to 9 years are in a crucial phase of development and susceptible to the harmful impacts of unhealthy diet. That's why these identified factors should be considered while developing interventions to prevent unhealthy food consumption among children aged 5 to 9 years. That's all. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. The next one would be the presentation on neighborhood food environment and fruit, vegetable, and ultra-processed food consumption in rural South Asia, presented by A&M Faizul Kabir. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Anam Faizul Kabir from IFPRI, Bangladesh. At first, I would like to acknowledge the authors and other co-authors involved in this work. South Asia faces a dual burden of malnutrition with undernutrition and micronutrient deficiencies. So we more focused on the association between neighborhood food environments and consumption of fruit and vegetables and ultra-processed food consumption in rural India and Bangladesh. So we have collected we used the data from our TAFSA's household and market survey, which was conducted in 2023, and we controlled food environment indicators, which includes the average selling market price of mostly available fruits and vegetables and ultra-processed food. And the other covariates are compromises of the sets of the socio-economic and other demographic factors. And if we conclude in one sentence of our results, and it would be the higher density of fruits and vegetable shops and lower prices are associated with the neighborhood higher fruits and vegetables consumption. And on the other hand, for ultra-processed food consumption, there is no association between the consumption of ultra-processed food and price, but the density of shops selling ultra-processed food has associated with the consumption of ultra-processed food. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The last in this series would be on the influence of food and beverage advertisements on youth, a content analysis of food advertisements shown in top-rated television channels in Sri Lanka, presented by Robolge Pahanma Lenora from Gaul. Not virtual either? No. Right. Are there any questions? Though short, they were quite interesting presentations. So in the absence of questions, I think, Naomi, we can conclude. Very, very interesting range of presentations, and it brings us to the whole challenge of the landscape of formative research for behavior change. I mean, this is a kind of a snapshot or microcosm. So when there are nationally driven, campaigns, communication campaigns, and today popularly we look at both social and behavior change, these presentations mirrored, I think, one of the presenters' whole framework, which he presented, from the individual domain to the physical, social, food systems, and the macro systems. So all the presentations today were actually within that framework. And very interesting facets, came into conversation. Some we have heard, of course, popularly, about the food systems approach, about availability, affordability, cost, etc., etc. But how do we manage with things like desirability? I mean, it's a very deep analysis that is required as to how you actually, shift desirability to match with all the, the good parameters of food selection. So I think, in conclusion, we can only say that all domains have been, traveled across, different physiological or, different stages of the life cycle and how it actually meets these different parameters. And interestingly, the one on depression and adolescence, It challenges the primary healthcare system on looking at the physical and the mental health condition. A very important set of recommendations there. We know, and adolescence is an area unexplored. And also interestingly about simple things that maybe that we have known, that proven about the density, of shops and availability. So I think in conclusion, we can say this has been a very, very important, very influential session, and we need to share this information widely and take this into account in everything we do, especially in South Asia, because the population is vast, the demographics are very different, the contextual, essence and flavor is very different. So it gives us the take-home message that formative research has to be spliced on different variables, in fact, against food groups. So thank you very much to the presenters and Naomi for doing all the hard work, because I got late, my apologies. Thank you so much.
So just very quickly, I thought that was a really fascinating session, and for me the big takeaway is, we keep seeing repeatedly again and again this problem of low intake of fruits and vegetables, and that these ultra-processed foods are usurping healthy foods in people's diets, not just across South Asia, but across the world. And I think this is a really big problem that we need to address with social and behavior change communication, as well as food environments. And I thought it was very interesting to see the effect of the media as well, and the importance of getting the right information out there for readers of newspapers or readers of social media and so on, because there's a lot of incorrect messaging going out there. Thank you very much to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Naomi and Vishaka. And thank you for keeping us on time, Rati. We will all now break for, before that, can I ask all the presenters, both rapid fire and oral presenters, to come for a group photo? And in the meanwhile, I can make the announcements. Please, all the oral and rapid fire presenters in person who were here. And if Zarmeen is still on and the other presenters, can we have them on the screen, if possible? Yeah, please come up on the stage for the group photo. We will break for lunch now. We will have lunch break from 12:15 to 1:15. After the lunch break, we will have 2 parallel thematic sessions. The session that will happen in this room is making social protection nutrition sensitive. And the session that will happen in Saffron and Ginger is gender and social inclusion. The session will start at 3:15 and go up to 2:30 p.m. After that, we will have a tea break and then split into 3 parallel sessions for the learning labs. So please enjoy your lunch and come back at 1:15 to this room for the social protection session and to Saffron and Ginger for the gender and social inclusion session. A small reminder, if anybody is posting about the conference on social media, please use the hashtag D4N 2024. That way we can also repost from our conference ID. Thank you so much. See you all at 1:15.